Councilor Casey, can you hear us? Okay, it's just me right now. So I'd like to call the regular city council meeting of April 10th, 2024 to order.
Mayor David Romero,
Here.
Councilor Marvin Martinez,
Present.
Councilor Barbara Casey, Councilor Michael Montoya,
Present.
Councilor David Udigari.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, we do have quorum.
Thank you. Councilman Uligari will lead us in the pledge.
This is the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Councilman Martinez will lead this moment of silence.
I'd like to express good luck to my friends, the Tafoya family who has their daughter hospitalized in, I believe, in Amarillo or Lubbock, Texas. She's got an illness, and I guess they're dealing with possibly even murder. Hopefully not passing away, but I know she had to be airlifted from Vegas. Prayers to her.
Councilors? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, approval of the agenda.
Are there any amendments or motion to approve the agenda? Got a motion, but you want to use the motion?
Yes.
I would add 1, 2, 3, and 4 as a consent agenda.
Mrs. Sandra, we don't have to send on the
There is no consent agenda, but you want to make a consent agenda on one motion. You don't want to discuss the publications of the ordinances? Because we
There's a
should.
discussion about, the voting at once. They're all pertaining to the same issue. And that's, really compliance with the time period.
Understood.
But right now, we can't, we put them all together. Right now, we don't consent, so when we get to those items, we just let them.
I'm asking if they be on consent agenda.
We don't have a consent. So. So Pro Tem is asking right now for items to be moved to consent, but we don't have a consent. So Pro Tem, is it okay when we get to those items, if we just make one motion? We don't have a consent.
If you have them separated, you gotta make one motion for each one. That's why I'm asking for consent.
Mr. Attorney, you're here.
Should have brushed up on my open meeting rules, but I think it would be best, because there's not a consent agenda already, not to create one at this time. Because they are listed as separate action items, I think it would be best that they be voted on separately, only because they're listed as such.
With that, you can make a motion, but I would highly suggest against that, because we don't have a consent.
So I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as
Have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Olivari, roll call.
Councilor Montoya,
Yes.
Councilor Casey, Councilor Martinez,
Yes.
Councilor Olivari.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Martinez, a second by Councilor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, motion carries. Next on the agenda is public input. We have no public input this evening, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to our mayor's appointments, reports, recognitions, and proclamations.
Okay, before we start, my first report, I'll have Mr. Buff, Wesley, come up and give him a couple minutes. So this is important information that he has to.
Thank you.
He asked me if I would read it, but I thought it would be appropriate that I ask him.
I'm sorry, speaker.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for giving me a chance to speak. My name is Bob Wesley. I'm the past chair of the Las Vegas Utility Advisory Committee, and I'm a past president of the Water Advocates for New Mexico. And recognizing that New Mexico and the city are facing intense water problems, I'd like to call your attention to an upcoming open house being held in Las Vegas at the Highland Student Center. In response to the unanimously passed 2023 Water Security Planning Act, it's NMSA 72-14A, and in response to studies showing significant further reduction of our further short water supplies, the New Mexico Interstate Stream Commission, or ISC, is conducting a series of open houses in regions around the state. They're seeking input on how to plan locally and statewide for an equitable and healthy water future. The 2023 Act directs a more robust, community-driven approach to water planning than in previous years, this time leading to actual implementation. The state, ISC, is now developing rules for how the planning process will work. The event presents an opportunity for the public to mold the planning process. The ISC is looking for input on attributes for a few selected rules and or additional rule topics beyond those few they are now contemplating. Further current information is available at a website, mainstreamnm.org. The open house in Las Vegas will be from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 24, at the Highlands Student Center Ballroom. I encourage attendance by you, Mr. Mayor and councilors, by your utility folks, by your Asakia folks, as well as anyone who likes to drink water. Please do attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Booth. We appreciate that. And I'm sure one of us will be here and we'll encourage others to know. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, next we have appointment of Councilor Michael Montoya and Councilor David Martinez to the New Mexico Highlands University Art Selection Team.
With this is the MOU that we entered into with Mr. Highlands University, just formalizing the two appointments to that selection team. I asked Councilor Pro Tem Montoya and Councilor Martinez to sit on that, and I'll entertain a motion. A motion by Councilor Martinez, have a second. Second by Councilor Olivari, all in favor? Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. is appointment of Counselor Michael Montoya to the Utilities Advisory Committee.
Okay, with this appointment, Councilman, Pro Tem Montoya has, already been serving without being officially appointed, so in this, again, we're just formalizing that appointment, so with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Martinez, do I have a second? Second by Councilman Giovanni. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilor Casey, you can hear us, right? You can hear us, right? Okay. Okay.
Next, we have appointment for former Mayor Louis Trujillo to Keep America Beautiful Committee.
In this appointment, I reached out to Mayor Trujillo, just being that Keep America Beautiful program really hasn't had any participation. And being that this is something that, even prior to our previous mayor was something that he really cared about. So he's willing to serve, so we can get this committee started again. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Pro Tem Montoya, have a second. Second by Councilor Casey, all in favor? Aye. The ayes have it. Vote.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have a proclamation for Donate Life Month.
Okay. So this time, I had a conversation with Mr. Luis Hernandez. Mr. Luis, if you don't mind coming up and kind of discuss a couple of minutes on what your program is, and then I'll go ahead and I'll have Mrs. Sandra read the proclamation into the record.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. My name is Luis Hernandez. I represent New Mexico Donor Services, with a nonprofit organization that makes organ donation happen here across the state. And we have the wonderful opportunity of serving over 2 million people here in our state. And just some quick facts, in 2023, New Mexicans saved more lives than ever before. We had 95 donor heroes, which resulted in 241 life-saving transplant organs. And for us, that is huge. We had a record of 54 livers transplanted here in our state, and 137 kidneys here in our state. And so those folks that received those organs have a new sense of life now, right? This is really, really important. Here in our state, we're in desperate need of kidney and liver transplants. And right now, we have on the waiting list about 644 folks who are in need of transplant, right? 556 of those are folks waiting on kidneys. And 1 in 5 on the wait list are Native Americans. And so we have a very large Native American population here in our state. So Donate Life Month is a celebration to create awareness here amongst our constituents here in our state, to let them know that they can be heroes as well. You can be a living hero or vice versa, right? But you have that opportunity to share in that life-saving effort there. And so we're very appreciative of your efforts here, Mayor and City Council members, to honor New Mexico Donor Services and for the city to celebrate alongside us for the month of April. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luis, and I think this is all important. At one time, remember, we all had that one family member that might be, that donation. So thank you for what you do in your organization. So this time, would you read the proclamation?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. Proclamation recognizing the need for life-saving organ transplants in New Mexico and encouraging New Mexicans to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors. Whereas 1 hero organ donor can save the lives of up to 8 people through the selfless gift of organ donation and improve the lives of up to 75 others with eye and tissue donation. And whereas more than 100,000 patients currently wait for life-saving organ transplants across the nation, including more than 600 New Mexicans, and whereas New Mexicans saved a record number of lives with organ donation in 2023, 95 donor heroes resulted in 241 life-saving transplants. And whereas all New Mexicans can register to be organ donors regardless of their age or medical history, and whereas we truly honor those who gave the extraordinary gift of life through living and deceased donation, and whereas we encourage every New Mexican to register as a donor under their driver's license or ID card, or motor vehicle division, or online at donateLifeMexico.org, and talk to their family about getting the gift of life. And therefore, I, David Romero, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas, Mexico, along with the members of the governing body, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2024 as Donate Life Month. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have a report for us?
I guess I just want to commend all our city employees. I guess probably the talk of the community, and I just want to thank every single employee that we have here at the city of Las Vegas for doing their best. Sometimes us elected officials, we're always taking the heat of the criticism, but our city employees should never have to deal with that. And I, on behalf of the governing body, want to thank you guys for all you do. Public Works, great job on the potholes. I think you've probably been getting a bunch of calls, and the equipment that you have now, those potholes are getting filled in. Councilman Martinez and I, probably getting a lot of calls there, so we know things take time, but I'm going to thank you guys again, not only to your department, but also all the departments that are working well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next is our councilors' reports.
Councilors? Councilor Casey. Thank you, Councilor Casey.
Mayor.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes, I too have been receiving a lot of calls in reference to streets, potholes. One of the biggest areas that I still see as a big issue is Independence. It seems like the lighting on Independence and that area where it was working, where the infrastructure was taking place, that general area right there has really poor lighting. So if you're approaching the stop sign coming up, going west on Independence, a lot of people can't see the problem with the road, number one, because it's so dark.
So I'm not sure if we could find a way to add lighting, maybe one more street light or something. I'm not sure how that would work, but that was one of the big concerns of the area that I oversee. I wanted to bring that, to your attention. I'm not sure if Arnold would be, or I can go with it as far as that goes, but I know that the street's already damaged, it needs to be repaired, but the big thing is they cannot drive on the street at night. If you go through there, you'll see what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. And Judge, Councilor Martinez, Mr. Arnold, I don't know, I know the previous city manager had a list of, what concern that's happening in the community, speaking of lights, and I know this is one of the issues, done any work there. But I'm hearing that some of the lights that were on the poles that are being replaced now aren't being replaced. I will make a call to the city, and I'm not just gonna look into that, but I think that's concerning to the community. If we didn't have lights in the community, and now they're removing them, the contractors and the party, and really that's conversation that we need to continue on. Thank you. Okay, Montoya.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank our staff. We had an amazing weekend last weekend with baby racing. For those of you that didn't know, we had our baby racing. That's motorcycle racing from all ages, little kids up to adults, up to 70-year-old people, individuals. We had that at the Rodriguez Park, and I know our city manager is going to do a presentation on this report. But I really want to thank staff for bringing that, and the WeBe Racing administration up there. We're very happy to visit Las Vegas. They're going to come back. We probably had 100 and some entries. With a lot of people that came, local people that entered the races, and they all had a blast. It was a fun time, and I look forward to next year. The other thing is, I want to thank the West Las Vegas School Administration for lending us a parking lot there on the main street. It might be a little bit of inconvenience for them, because we do have our city hall manager's office up on the second floor of our station. So thank you, West Las Vegas, for these kind of generous. Also, I want to thank the Economic Development Director and also code enforcement. This department puts up with a lot from the public. There's always a little bit of friction when they go by and they say they need to clean this up on city right away and so forth. And they got to enforce the law. So we appreciate everything that you do in your department to make things happen and dealing with all the negativeness. And that comes from part of the job. And also thank you to San Miguel County Commission for leading us their chambers. I think we've thanked them so far. I want to thank them on behalf of my council for making it a little bit of a home for us for the meantime. Thank you for hosting us. And also, lastly, I attended the Hermit's Peak wildfire presentation that happened at the Indigo Theater a couple of days ago. And our Lieutenant Governor Javier Morales was here. He was part of the panel. And so was Mr. Victor Banderas, our past state auditor, and other locals that got affected by the fires. And it was a full house. There was no room left for people that didn't make reservations at the time. They showed the film with true meaning and exactly what happened. Witnesses from fires and victims spoke out. FEMA was there. They promised they are making some changes. They're hiring more people, and they're carrying out the process. We just had a 2-year anniversary, and we still have people that are homeless, and we still have people that have moved away that are wanting to come back home, and so forth. But they listened to the people, and they have a year open, and we're going to try and hurry up the process of getting up people. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yeah, me too. I want to thank the Rec Center and Public Works for
getting ready for our summer leagues. And our beautification at Ward One, it's really coming out really good here. We're doing a great job. It's really nice. All the staff that's involved with that. And our police department, doing a good job on keeping our city safe. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to add, councilors, again, thank you guys for, I think, past couple of months has been great working with you all. We're building and showing that we can work together despite our differences, and I think that's important. Just wanted to note that. Thank you guys.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our city manager's report, meeting of our city managers in public.
Okay, no problem, thank you. Okay, Mayor and Council, thank you for having me here again. I think this is my third presentation now, so hopefully I do justice for you. First off, I always like to welcome our new employees. We had a few new employees in the month of March. The first one, Shanice Gallegos, sorry about that, Assistant Administrator 1 in the Police Department. We have John Gonzalez, he's a laborer with the Utilities Gas Department. Samuel Lujan, operator in training, again, utilities with the water treatment plant. Joaquin Villanueva, recreation aide for the Recreation Center. And Stephen Zucker, Administrative Assistant 2 for Community Development. Also, I'd like to call out that Travis Martinez is currently in the interim Utilities Director role. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so previous council session updates. I think it's really important that I keep on top of what we've discussed in previous sessions, bring those forward as we're making progress. If I haven't made progress, I don't include it on the list. So for starters, Rodriguez Park Phase 2, the Mayor Pro Tem and I met with George Radovich. He is with Site Southwest to bring us back to understanding where Phase 1 left off. With the transition of the city managers, it was important that we pulled the team back together and discuss options for moving forward with Phase 2. We do owe them money still. There was an outstanding invoice that had not been processed. And we talked through that, and we'll be making sure that payment takes place. We also now have electronic versions of the design concept and how that concept developed over time. And we'll be holding meetings going forward to get the city moving forward with Phase 2. In the last session, I had brought up that we did receive $2.5 million for the Phase 2, and we also had some residual monies out there. So we're looking at having about $2.6 million. I wanted to bring up also code enforcement. Again, the transition to community development, it's gone well. Considering they're still located at the police department. Mr. Marquez is providing as much supervision as possible and a lot of guidance there. And I know that they're moving in and out of your building and you have a lot of contact, so thank you for doing that. They've ordered new uniforms to enhance their approachability within the community and not be misjudged as being law enforcement. They'll no longer be wearing bulletproof vests or carrying stun guns. They're working on daily efforts to enhance code enforcement and identify violations within the community rather than waiting for calls to come in, pointing out issues. Once we move back into City Hall, they will move over with us. The city charter, this is an ongoing project. We're currently working on an RFP to publish. One thing that came to mind in this process is we want to be able to publish an RFP to all attorneys that are interested and not isolate any of our current attorneys or exclude any of our current attorneys by having them review the RFP. And so we're working with the county to actually get a copy of their general legal service contract that we could adopt over to the city, and that would help us not have to send it to our attorney. They're also looking to see if they have a previous RFP specific to when they updated their charter. Again, that would open the doors then for all attorneys to apply and not isolate anybody. Grant updates. I've been working with the departments over the last week or so. We have a full listing at this point of all of our grants, what the funding source is, what the original funding amount was, how much money has been utilized, and what the remaining balance is. With that, we then have our reversion dates of having to return those funds. Right now, we're not at risk of returning any funds, but they'll be presented next week during the financial review. So you'll get that chart. And then lastly is City Hall. I spoke last session about City Hall, and the air quality is actually much better than we had anticipated. We were able to talk through the fungi that had been tested in the environmental study, and what we really found is that we had air debris from the HVAC system. We need to clean the building, and so that is taking place. A good thing though is that we are able to utilize a state contractor. We do not need to put it out to bid, so that's going to save us time. We're looking at hopefully about 6 weeks time before we can move back into the building. Our safety coordinator, Mr. Adrian Hermio, he's out there right now, but he's been doing a really great job of trying to keep this moving forward so we can return home. One of the things he's working with now is getting a third-party vendor in to actually clean the HVAC system. That will take place also while we go ahead and do the bleach wash to the building. We're kind of going overboard to just make sure that the building is clean. We'll move back into the building and we'll do bi-weekly testing on the air just to keep us comfortable that that air is good. There were no issues. Next slide, please. So last time I gave you a really long presentation of all the departments, and I think I helped you all glaze over. I apologize for that. But my whole point behind that meeting is to show how much work is taking place at the city. And we don't always talk about all those things. There was one department that I did not include, and that was our IT department. And I want to bring them in for this session. For starters, in the month of March, they had 169 assistant requests come to them. 65% of those requests are informal requests. They get phone calls, text messages, emails. The remaining balance, which is 59 requests, are formal ticket requests where individuals actually go into the system and request assistance. I call that out. It's important that we use the ticketing system, and that's something that we're working on internally to make better. A significant amount of time is spent on the city website, setting up user accounts or password refreshes. There's a lot of meeting support here tonight, for example, as well as setting up printers. Printers have a tendency to disconnect when we have internet issues. There's a lot of time spent on those things, but we also have a significant concern for cybersecurity, and we're not getting enough time spent on cybersecurity. I don't want to talk about the businesses or schools in town, but we have had cyber attacks that can be very costly and very damaging. And so we need to make sure that we are funneling enough time over to cybersecurity. Utilizing the ticket request form would help prioritize the work assignments and be able to keep that work flowing appropriately. There's a couple charts there. I can't read them at all, and so I don't know if you can read them, but it really gives a breakdown of how time is utilized. And again, it really goes back to city website, whether it's posting PSAs, job descriptions, updates from the past. There's a lot of different things that are being updated. again, user accounts, working with our staff when they have issues, if we locked out the system, passwords required to be changed and it wasn't done, so they're locked out. There's a lot of different issues there. Next slide, please. So progress at the city. In the past, I talked a lot during council sessions of the need for our guiding principles, and again, that's safety, respect, integrity, and teamwork. And it's something I talk about in all the director meetings. We had a little contest the other day to see who would remember those 4 items, and Mr. Chavez did quite well. Dominic, he had those memorized, and that was really good. It's becoming a culture for us. We're going to keep that going. But along with that, what's really important is focusing on the addition of communication, transparency, and completing work. So when I moved into the city manager role, one thing that was really important for me as an individual is to make sure I attend all of my meetings. I hold my meetings exactly during the time that they're slated and not be on my cell phone or preoccupied with other things. I work hard for doing that. I also want to make sure that I have very rapid turnaround of all the signatures for documents. I had no clue how many things I signed in a day. I will tell you I have a great big callus on my finger. So, I'm signing a lot of things and moving things along quickly. Having developed that culture within the management team right now is helping us move forward with looking at the bigger picture. We're able to spend more time focusing on our FEMA claims, department operations. I meet with the departments every week. I feel like I'm becoming very aware of what they're doing, and I can provide guidance or understanding because we have a solid foundation for our communication and how we work with each other. Every one of my directors is on a growth plan. We're going to go through the next 3 months of really making sure we understand how those guiding principles relate to their individual department. It's not a corrective action plan. It's nothing negative. It's meant to be a positive experience so that we can get ourselves on the same page, speaking the same language, and able to relate it back to our home departments. Also, I feel that project suggestions and discussions that I have with the governing body during the weekly meetings, I'm really, really trying to make sure that I address every one of those in a timely manner. And again, by having our communication guidelines, our guiding principles, we're able to focus on the work because we're all speaking the same language. So there's a lot to complete still. We have a long path ahead of us. So I'm proud of how we're doing, and I appreciate the accolades that we're given early because we are working hard together, and I appreciate that. So thank you. Next slide, please. So the fun part of things, our community outreach and city activities. Montoya brought up earlier the week of motorcycle racing. Again, March 23rd and 24th at Rodriguez Sports Complex. What's interesting is Mr. Marquez was able to send me some data today that I found really fun. There were approximately 2,100 visitors at Rodriguez Park for this event. Many of the individuals returned multiple times through the day, or they showed up the second day, taking our total count up to 3,200 visits. And on top of that, individuals remained at the event on average of 302 minutes. How do you do that? I have no clue. Get up and press. But the thing is people came. It wasn't just a swing by and move on. They came and they stayed. And I think that was really great. Mayor Pro Tem Montoya opened the event with a presentation, followed by the ribbon cutting with his wife, Ms. Montoya. And so we have a couple pictures there. That was, it was exciting. It was a really cool group, really easygoing group, just really pleasant. There were multiple thank yous that came in to the executive office that next week. The conversations were very positive. There was a lot of great feedback because we had a lot more patrons in hotels, restaurants, convenience stores, and so forth. And our community business owners really noticed that. And the fact they called us and told us is huge. So I appreciate that. Next slide, please. These were just some pictures, just kind of showing, you can see the canopy set up for oil changes. You can see the red tent at the bottom where the starting line was. There was just this organization, cleanliness that was there. The people were awesome. Little kids, older adults, a lot of staff. It was really great. I think it was a really, really good time. I had tons of pictures I'd love to show you guys. I probably have 150 pictures. They all show that same story. It was a really good time, and I think the community really enjoyed it. Next slide, please. So another thing that has taken place is the mayor and I were down in Santa Fe for the Northern Region Workforce Development Conference in Santa Fe. There were several guest speakers there, including Lieutenant Governor Howie Morales, and also the mayor of Santa Fe, Alan Weber, and the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions Cabinet Secretary, Sarita Nair. There were many, many individuals there giving us presentations, and it was really to talk about different approaches to economic development. One of the breakout sessions we had presented about 7 different topics that we could discuss and figure out how that would impact economic development. But the key part was we need to come up with solutions those to the economic development committee. It was things like dealing with housing, housing shortage here, and how we can deal with that. Education, developing soft skills for employees, motivation. There were many different topics that we went through. It was really beneficial. But another thing that came out of this is the city has opportunities to network and really bring resources to the city. For example, having mentorships, maybe not always requiring a college degree, but working with individuals and teaching them trade skills and bringing them into the workforce that after they've gone through that mentorship. There's monies available if someone has gone through an unemployment experience. There's monies available to get them back on track and get them the education they need in a new career field. Going to school is expensive, and also many people can't work while they go to school. There are monies out there, and so I feel like we learned a lot there. It was a really great conference. And so I'm happy that we're getting out in the community. We're focusing on things that can help us move in positive directions. Any questions, councilors?
I just want to start off. Jim, thank you. As I mentioned, thank the governing body here earlier. But at the end of the day, it's your team, right? And I think you started that structure within the team based off of your four goals, right? And I think that's important. It all stems from your leadership, your direction, your trust within that team. So I can't and thank you, for what you do, because I think that's what leads us, as long as we have a strong governing body, city manager, and we all work together, we'll accomplish great things. And I think that's what I have noticed the past few years that we're headed in that. Thank you, councilors.
Mr. Montgomery, on the IT section and on the website, would it be best if you could maybe assign an individual to the website itself and keep the IT people to the security part of it or the upgrading part of it and so forth? Because I know it is time consuming, and I always go in there looking for information. And, sometimes it's outdated. And I understand that they're busy in IT, but I think that if you could get an individual just to upgrade and maybe do other responsibilities, we could get that up to date. And also, there's a lot of people that use that website to find out what events are happening or what the ordinances are. And it'd be nice to have accurate and correct information on there for them. So something to consider. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Councilman Martinez.
Yes, I'd like to say thanks too, because you're always willing to listen to the councilors, okay? Even though we have to schedule time to visit with you, that's important. But you've taken a big role by by taking the city in a whole different direction, and I appreciate that. And I think you've got a good team who's willing to work with you, but you're participating in more than just work. You're at some of the events, and that shows a lot for you, and I appreciate that very, very much. So, moving forward, I want to make sure that we continue that process, and we always, look out for the employees. The employees are what we're here for. And, the city doesn't run without employees. We got to make sure that our employees are taken care of. Down the road, we can do more and more for them. But I know we're in a good direction, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Councilman Levadia, Councilman Casey, Councilman Levadia.
Thank you, Chair. I know we meet at this council matter to tell you what the plans we have and take care of them, and thank you for everything that you accomplish and take care of the stuff that we need to take care of, especially for the enforcement stuff that we need to do on the city. Thanks a lot for our work.
Thank you to the team. The team's what keeps me going.
Councilman Casey, any questions, any comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Moving on to our next item, approval of minutes for March 13th, March 20th special meeting, and March 20th regular meeting 2024.
This time I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Councilman Casey. Motion by Councilman Casey, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Levadia. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? You guys have it?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to our presentations, we have one presentation this evening by Mr. Luis Hernandez speaking on promoting and marketing the 4th of July fiestas.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. Please allow me to switch hats. My name is Luis Hernandez with Elite Companies. We are an entertainment agency. It may look familiar to you as I've been your Fiesta MC for the past 6 years, give or take a couple of years because of COVID, right? Which I thoroughly enjoyed spending my time up here, and it's brought on this question of sponsorship. I inquired if there were sponsorship opportunities available for the Fiestas this year, and I was informed that there wasn't a particular program in place. And so I took that information and I proposed a sponsorship program, and today I'd like to tell you guys about that. As the 4th of July approaches, we're thrilled to present this sponsorship program to the city. We talk about economic development and economic impact. The 4th of July Fiestas has, I believe, a greater economic impact, not only to the city of Las Vegas, but to the surrounding areas, in the sheer number of folks that it draws in from all over the country to come back home for family reunion and to enjoy all the things that are Nuevo Mexico, right? The music, the food, all that great stuff. Well, in my experience with events, we've often gone to gone the way of sponsorships to offset the cost to produce the events. And that's simply put, what I'd like to propose to you guys is, in line with what this event does for the community, we'd like to propose a strategic approach to sponsorship program development. One that would be made specifically for the city, for the Fiesta, that the city would thereafter own and would be able to use for years to come. And then the second proposal would be to work on that particular proposal and execute the prospecting, the sponsorship proposals, and the execution of the sponsorship program for the city. And so that's just a big round idea for you there. But I'd like to give it back to you and ask if you have any particular questions on how a sponsorship program works and how it would benefit the city of Las Vegas.
Thank you, Luis, and I just want to add to the council here, this is, as we've sponsored now, just went on the third year now. That's basically the way we do the sponsorship. There's so many sponsorships available. We pick what level we want to sponsor at, and then we do that, right? This is something that I know, I mentioned to Tim and also to Chuck, is that something we know how much money we spend for the Fiestas. And don't get me wrong, it's money well spent. But there's the opportunity where we could actually get sponsors to fund a portion of this, of the Fiestas, right? Have one general sponsor for the Fiestas in general, and you have the different breakdown. Of course, that's that for discussion right further. But it gives us an opportunity where we're fundraising. I mean, not fundraising, fundraising the partial cost of the Fiesta. Right? You can have for the Fiestas, for the fireworks show, the official sponsor of the fireworks show, the official sponsor of the arenas. You know what I mean? And that money goes, to the arenas. I know that's an issue. Sometimes we can't spend money, but with and traveling and stuff like that. So this is just an opportunity. Again, government to a certain extent shouldn't just operate on, there has to be some money generated, right? And not just roll out. And, we see the GR, we see the GRT, we see the project spend. But let's find other ways, because community development, there's with some of this partial savings, we could, keep that money in community development and use that for other needs that are necessary in this community. So thank you for, this is something that I was sold on, and I just thought, when you wanted to talk to me about it, I said, hey, I think the council needs to kind of hear this, because I think this is something that, we're doing it right now with the Bullet Fiestas ourselves. We picked, what we're going to sponsor, and we're paying a fee to that, and that with our, the largest Fiestas in the state. So I'll leave it open for questions or comments.
Yeah. So I guess I have a couple of questions in reference to that. But we're already approaching the year, 2035 would be the, 200 years of Las Vegas being a community that has a 4th of July Fiesta, which is pretty big, and we need to start gearing up for that eventually. We're still a few years away, but it's kind of important to start thinking outside the box. And I think this is a good angle to start doing this. But when you think about the Fiestas, there's a lot of unseen areas. You've got different departments within the city that the city provides a lot of time and effort to go into it, like fire and safety, solid waste that goes into it. And there's a lot of overtime, I think, paid in reference to just having the Fiestas run, especially when it's a course of 3 or 4 days, But this is a great idea. I know it is a great idea, and I think that I'm not sure how you'd approach it. It's something that you'd want to do sponsorships outside of our community to those coming in. I'm not sure how, maybe you can kind of explain a little bit about that. I'm not sure of that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, and you're absolutely right. It is not just one department within the city that has to contribute to the function of the fiestas. It takes multiple departments, right? And all those come at a cost. And so what we would do is we would work hand in hand with the city, with the departments to identify those areas of opportunity in terms of how we would build what we call sponsorship assets, right? The items that we would sell to potential sponsors, right? And then once we build that solid foundation of these assets that we establish, then we'll take those to market and we'll look at national companies, and we'll also look at regional companies, and we'll also look at our small local mom and pop shops, right? Really making an attempt to really provide opportunity and to ensure that that everybody can participate. Some ideas of even ways to get families involved, right? As they like to celebrate the 4th of July fiestas by having everybody come back home, right? Maybe an opportunity for them to participate in the sponsorships as well by celebrating their family coming back home. And so, yeah, so the answer to your question is we would seek out sponsors at multiple levels, depending on what those different levels are, monetary levels. We would have to appropriate those assets to the right types of companies that could handle that type of sponsorship.
Great. So, Luis, thank you for coming to Las Vegas. And it's not 4th of July. We really appreciate you as being the MC. We had Cipriano Vidal for years and years. And he was awesome with the public. And I think, I guess you're God sent because you involve the whole community, you involve the little kids, joke around, and you make it a fun time. And I appreciate that. I think this is an awesome opportunity for Las Vegas and also surrounding areas because you can take it to any level you want. I mean, if somebody has a member that passed away from cancer and they want to be a sponsor, there's a category for that. And there's a bigger category for industrials or commercials and so forth. So as long as everybody's involved and everybody's being able to, at one level or another, be a sponsor, that's the great thing. Banners and posters and stuff like that will come down the road with that space for that. But that's all part of planning. And the MC is separate from this, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think this is something good for Las Vegas for the fiestas, and I think this is something that can grow. And we appreciate it, and we do need that kind of funding to come in to offset the fiestas. And I would say that that money also should go to the general fund of the fiestas, not for any particular parade or pageant or this or the other, but in general for the community to be able to spend and maybe be able to bring more activities other than what we have. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I guess, again, I would ask, Councilor Quesada, if you have any questions or comments?
Yeah.
Councilman Duarte?
Thank you, Luis. Thank you for promoting this biggest event that we had in Las Vegas. But we haven't had a fiesta committee for the past 2 years now. And I think we need to work on that. We're in the council because we need a fiesta committee that really can get more input. But to have for the business. And I think we haven't had a committee for the past 3 years. If anybody wants to be in the business committee to come and talk to you, Sandra or Sue, everybody can get more input and they can work with Chuck. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
So with that, I guess I'll, and I have another meeting. I don't know, maybe I'll be the new piece, but this is the first time you heard this. I just wanted to see if you
again, is it ordinary?
No, absolutely. I think we should try to move forward with any efforts of developing sponsorships that, to me, brings the community names in too. It just shows that involvement and allows people to celebrate what our successes are. And the fiestas are hugely important and favored by the community. And so this is something that we definitely work on as well. Which we can definitely help and move forward.
So with that, I know there might be a few issues, the procurement side and this service and that, but I guess I would ask the governing body if we could, give direction, via motion, give direction to the city manager to work on a plan moving forward as far as the sponsorship plan.
Mr. Mayor, go ahead and ask our city manager to move forward on the MOU. And I know it's not an action item, so we can't vote on it, but direction is needed.
So, okay, so it's actually possible direction. It is an action. So the motion.
Presentation. Is that understood? Okay.
The council can give direction to the city manager.
Is it a voting item?
To give direction. To be from all governing body.
It's not an action.
It's not a business item, but it's stated on the agenda that there's possible direction.
I'd have to take this in a formal vote that we use.
It's a presentation item, not a business item. It's not a business items. Any business items you want. You can call your attorney again.
Castellano. So on our agenda, we have a presentation of possible direction. Being that we're a governing body, make decisions via majority. What's your opinion? Can we take a formal vote on the direction instead of just giving direction in general?
I'm not sure 100% in terms of the Open Meetings Act. To be on the safe side of the city, I would avoid a formal vote. I would get an informal vote on what the pleasure of the council is. If it's to give direction on behalf of the council to the city manager, then the mayor can then go ahead and give that direction or directive to the city manager. However, because it's probably not listed as an action item, I would caution against doing a formal vote on the record and more of a consensus as, what's the pleasure of the council.
So I guess, with that, do we have a consensus of giving direction to the city manager moving forward with that? Any disagreement with that? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moving on to our business items. Our first business item is request approval to publish ordinance number 24-01, amending gas ordinance 06-08 and section 255-11 of the municipal code. We have our city manager, Mr. Tu.
And also with this, I did ask our legal being that he was involved in this, I know that our utilities director, had some input tonight, on water, so I did ask legal to be here in case the.
Yes. So, Mayor and councilors, the next 4 items, as we discussed very briefly before, are closely related. And I know that we would need to do it individually. But in short, we're requesting approval to publish these 4 ordinances. Mr. Garcia will be able to speak to this more so as he did go through the documents himself. But we have discrepancies between our different utilities based on the billing, the payment terms, what was considered delinquent. And so Mr. Castellano went through these different ordinances and looked at whether there's state regulation or other guiding principles that needed to be incorporated into the ordinances. In the end, we basically send out our utility bills with the different utilities on the same bill, and we needed to have some sort of consistency on how we treat those billing terms and delinquencies. Would you like to sum up your more, you have a lot more?
That's primarily the extent of our work. Essentially, the city was not able to proceed with delinquency procedures until almost 60 days after the bill was actually due. There was some confusing language on the separate bill, so what we did was we looked at state statute. State statute doesn't necessarily provide a timeline. It basically says a reasonable amount of time. And so what we did in conjunction with the city is that we cut the 60-day delinquency period, essentially providing services for 60 days past due, and we cut that down to 45 days. And we made it consistent with the bill, because right now, if you get your city bill, there's a due date on there. From that point on, it was a little confusing as to when we start delinquency procedures and shut off notifications and things of those sorts. What these 4 bills do here, it combines it all. It clarifies exactly what the city can do, when the city can take action, and it unifies the 4 ordinances to fall under the same amount of time for potential shut off.
Mayor and council, I can also add to that, this effort not only was to bring clarity and know our timelines of when to take action, but it's also to protect our consumers. Because with the ambiguity, bills can actually grow to be rather large. And if we set up a payment plan with that consumer for the utility, it may not be possible to pay that bill off in a certain amount of time. And so we want to prevent those delinquent bills from being too large and too cumbersome.
Councilor Casey?
Just to clarify there, Councilor Casey, so I can give you a proper analysis. If you have tenants and the utilities remain in the landlord's name, is that what you're speaking about? Yeah, great question, Councilor Casey. Councilors, so more than likely dependent on the landlord-tenant relationship, this specifies that it could be the customer. So what I've seen with landlord tenants is the tenant is therefore going to have to put the utilities in their name. They would then become the customer. So if the customer is delinquent, then that customer could not open a utilities account at another location. Now, on the flip side of that, Counselor Casey, I think you're right in terms of the landlord. If the landlord therefore stipulates that they're gonna pay the utilities on behalf of their tenant, they're assuming that responsibility. And so for failure to pay that utility on behalf of the tenant or for that property would then prohibit them from being able to open accounts at other properties. I think the landlord taking on that responsibility would then, they would then be liable for any other accounts at other locations.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor? Okay.
Okay, Mr. City Manager, we have 7,128 active accounts. That's in our water. And then we have 5,065 in our gas. And we have an ordinance in place that you're saying that in 20 days, if you don't pay your bill, you're gonna be sending a notice. And in 45 days, you're gonna be shutting them off, the gas, and now it says 60 days. So we're trying to combine them both and bring them back with sewer and all utilities to a 20-day period, right? Okay, and this is my dilemma, okay? I have a report here for the water itself. People are in arrears of $275,000. And that's 1 month arrears is 97, 2 months is 46, 3 months is 23,000, and 4 months is 244,000. For a total of $686,000. And our ordinance says that they can't go beyond 20 days. That's what you're trying to push. But the one for gas is 60 days. But why are we allowing 3 and 4 months? And I can go on with this. Every utility, including the standpipe, the standpipe alone in 1 month has $315 arrears. In 2 months, $238 arrears. In 3 months, $191. For a total of 4 months, $2,230 in arrears. And all I'm saying is we can pass all the ordinances that we want, and put limitations on it, but if they're not being followed, what's the point? I mean, I was here 20 years, 18 years ago. What was happening is that's why we have that landlord ordinance now in place. Because we're putting liens against the landlords for the tenants skipping town. And we had a bill left for, I think, close to $400,000. So we hired a company from outside to come in and take care of that. Paid them 10%, and with that, the rest of it, Santa Fe allowed us to scratch it off the books and start fresh. I don't know what that number is now, but I know what the numbers are on delinquencies overall. So I don't know what the number is that nobody's paying, period. And I'd like to know what that number is, because we need to go up and collect that again. Well, all I'm saying is, it's okay to put limitations and days on cutoffs and so forth. But then, in the winter months, the ordinance reads that you cannot cut anybody off. If they're elderly and they need heat or they need water, you're not allowed to cut them off. So if they don't pay for 2-3 months, we need to be active on collecting those for those months, for those winter months. So I'm just saying this is not a fix-all problem thing, and there's a lot of other issues that we need to address. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. And I just want to add to this, I think how this all came about is me coming into this position kind of surprised at how many calls the mayor gets is, as to, if the mayor gets like some magic wand that can do away with all these bills, right? And speaking with the utility directors at the time, what I kind of had seen, and that's where she was already working on this, is that by the time somebody is like, comes to that, we're gonna shut you off, they've already built a bill, and there is no way they can get out of it. You know what I mean? And that's a disservice to them, because if you're on limited income, there's no way you'll ever catch up. I mean, we had a system in place that was a disservice to the lower income individuals. And I think when the utilities director has said, well, this is something we've been trying to do, and I know, at the time it was like, well, we need to fix it, and we can't just talk about it, let's fix it. And this started way back. I mean, she already had started it then, and then next time Mr. Castellano came in, followed up the statute amendment. What this is doing is trying to eliminate putting people in a bind to where they can't come out of these bills. Again, Council, this is just for publication right now. Of course, we'll have a public hearing and all that stuff. This is just for publication.
And I thought, Mr. Mayor, cutting down the short period of time on cutoffs. I think that's why gas was 60 days, because gas is always higher than water in the winter or any given time, pretty much. So you accumulate a higher bill in a shorter distance, in a shorter time with gas. And that's how I think they had to limit it at 60 days to pay their bill. Now cutting it back to 20 days, that's going to be a bigger hardship, I think, on the consumer.
And again, I think the discussion from this and all the was from the utilities director. Am I correct, Mr. Richard? They say the discussion and input was all from the utilities director.
That's correct, Mayor. And I will clarify too, I just want to make sure that it's not too, it's not necessarily, the bill is not going to be due within 20 days. So if we're not going to change the due dates on the city bill, this would not do that. We're saying, however, that the bill cannot be due sooner than 20 days, right? But it's not going to be 20 days. The billing statements on the bill is not going to change. So what we're saying is it's going to be due in a minimum of 20 days, nothing sooner than that. More than likely, you're looking closer at 30 days. Based off the current billing cycles, the way it's not going to change, you're looking at 30 days and then 15 days to process for potential shut-off. So I don't believe, Councilman Montoya, that it's going to be 20 days exactly.
So just what I'm hearing pretty much is the fact that by making the changes necessary on this, you're putting consistency throughout all of the utilities. And I understand the 45 days and all that. And I think the biggest reason for doing that is you don't want to have different bills going out to the same person. In other words, your gas bill, water, everything's not a separate bill. It's all on one bill. We're fortunate to be a community, to have all those utilities that we can offer the public here in Las Vegas. So it doesn't make any real sense to have several bills going out. So I think this puts consistency in it. And I mean, the delinquencies and everything else that were mentioned by Councilor Montoya, that is an issue as well, but this puts a lot more things in perspective, and I totally agree that it needs to start taking some kind of shape. So, I mean, the only other thing that I could think about, in reference to any of this was when an individual wants to dispute the amount of water they've lost or used or gas, or maybe the meter was incorrectly read, I don't know if that information is part of this this document as well. I didn't read into it that far, okay? So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not sure if we need to go into that deeper, and I know you mentioned before, this was more, kind of a working document, that we're trying to achieve here, so I just want to bring that to light. That's another area that when you have a dispute in a bill or on a bill that, the customer is trying to figure out what to do with it.
Again, Councilor Martinez, if I may, just briefly, we did, that dispute process is built into the notice in the event, customer becomes delinquent. In the notice itself, they have the, process that they could follow in the event they want to dispute. They would go to a hearing, it would be reviewed by the director, and then they would have the opportunity to sit with city manager and eventually create a payment plan if the city deems that appropriate.
All right, thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion. Item number one. Motion by Councilman Martinez, do I have a second? Again, I'll entertain a motion, I'll entertain a second. Again, this is to request approval to publish ordinance 2401. Again, this is just for publication. Second by Councilman Ivani. Roll call.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
No?
Counselor Ivani?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Ivani. Mr. Mayor, we have time?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to our second item, request approval to publish ordinance 2402. This is amending the sewer ordinance 0512 in section 340-53 of the municipal code. Mr. Montgomery?
Okay, so again, this is same situation, trying to bring forward ordinance for notification to the public for sewer.
With that, again, same thing, the sewer, I'll entertain a motion to publish ordinance 24-02.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion by Councilman Martinez, do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Councilman Ivani. Roll call.
Counselor Ivani? Counselor Montoya?
No?
Counselor Casey? Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Ivani. Mr. Mayor, we have time?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Next item, request approval to publish ordinance 24-03, amending the water ordinance 05-17 and section 440-9 of the municipal code. Mr. City Manager.
So this is the third ordinance that we're seeking approval to take to public notification. And again, this is the same situation regarding water.
With that, I'll entertain a motion. Moved. Motion by Councilor Martinez, do I have a second? Second by Councilman Ivani.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
No?
Counselor Ivani?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Ivani. Mr. Mayor, we have time?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 4, request approval to publish ordinance number 24-04, amending solid waste ordinance 10-20 and section 361-10 of the municipal code. Mr. City Manager?
And this is ordinance number 4 that we're bringing forward, seeking approval again for public notification for solid waste. And again, this is following the same situation as the other three.
Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, just want to make a comment. I know that, we're agreeing and disagreeing on these ordinances, and I understand everybody has their opinion, but a lot of time and effort has been put into legal. And, I feel that if we don't move forward with some of these things, You know, I know that ordinances can be changed. And I think, you know, maybe at one point or another, there needs to be more input into these areas. And maybe this discussed in a lot further angle. But I still think it's important to move on with it. So, go ahead.
I have a comment too, before the motion is made.
Yes.
You know what, I think this ordinance is, yeah, I understand that, there has been some understanding on legal and so forth. I think this was the direction of our council. Who knows if the director was the one that started this, but I think that down the road, we're gonna be looking at reverting this back, because we're going to put people in the bind. Come this winter, we're gonna put people in the bind, and they're using, especially if the gas price, the natural gas goes up, we're gonna be shutting them off within 20, 30 days. You know, and it's gonna be a creative problem. Thank you, Mr.
And I'd like to know for the record that I didn't even have any discussion about this ordinance. It was the utilities director. She was already working on that. The only thing is that somewhere down the line, the city managers never took her input, and that's where this all came about. Just for the record. With that, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilor Martinez, do I have a second? Second by Councilman Uribe. Roll call.
Counselor Uribe?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya? I have a motion by Counselor Martinez, a second by Counselor Uribe. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, we have a tie.
Yes.
Motion
And
carries.
again, you know, just to remain, this is publishing the ordinance, getting the public input, having a public hearing. This is not the ordinance. We welcome any input whatsoever. So, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to item number 5. Request approval of memorandum of understanding between the city of Las Vegas, San Miguel County, and New Mexico Highlands University regarding the Jane Forest Golf Course. We have our city manager, Mr. Montgomery.
So Mayor and Council, last month, the council approved providing the Jane Forest Golf Course with $60,000 to assist with the 2024 operations. We have Mr. Chairman Garcia from the Golf Course Committee here. They have prepared an MOU to go along with that $60,000, and there has been addition of comments or items into the MOU to comply with the city's requirements. The first one was providing golf access for the high school students to use the golf fields, and then also for bringing reporting forward to the council to see the performance of the golf course, to make sure that it is self-sufficient in operations. And so if I may call up Chairman Garcia.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. My name is Bill Garcia. I am chairman of the Board of Regents at Highlands University. I'm also the chairman of the Golf Oversight Management Committee, which is represented by the city manager to represent the city's interests, and Mr. Larry Franklin, who represents the county's interests. So we have the principals involved in oversight, and we're the general management team that seeks to ensure we have a well-functioning golf course, that we're meeting the needs of our players. You, as a principal in it, have asked us to amend the proposed, and I'm going to say this is a memorandum of agreement versus memorandum of understanding. I don't know what the legal distinction is, but I don't want this to be the issue that derails any of this. So it is a memorandum of agreement. So, Mr. Mayor and councilors, we have agreed, and we put into the MOA, memorandum of agreement, two specifics that you asked for. Number one, that we provide free access to the golf teams of all of the local schools. We agreed to that, that's now in this agreement. We also agreed that we would provide you with an update on not only the operation, but that's the operational dollars and cents and so forth, but we're going to bring to you the land development plan that everybody is so interested in. As you know, the plan that we have for eliminating the subsidy from the city, the county, and Highlands is going to be based on development of vacant golf course lots that are out there. Highlands University Board of Regents approved in December a contract with Mr. Murphy, who was the former local development executive director and specializes in how you develop university land for the benefit of the university and the community. So we did sign a contract with him. He's currently on site. He will be providing a final report by the end of July. We will share that report with you fully, because in fact, we need the city's help and support and input and guidance. And Mr. Montgomery has been very gracious in ensuring that as Mr. Murphy moves forward, we need to get the infrastructure, we need to identify the utilities available, we need to do the map plotting and so forth, but all of that will tell us if it's going to be feasible to build new housing, and if so, what kind of housing? Is it going to be single resident, single family residence? Is it going to be townhouses? Is it going to be duplexes? I suspect that part of the study that's being done is going to identify what's the need within the community. I'm going to hazard a guess and say it's going to need all of those. So a mixed use kind of development will come out of this. You'll have the full report, and it will also identify what the original projections were around the taxes that would accrue to the city and the county and the state. And the projection was a full build out that there would be about approximately a $2 million per year benefit in tax increases to the community. So we present this to you. I hope that you will vote for this. We appreciate the support you've given us in the past. We are moving ahead aggressively. We do have someone involved now with a contract that's going to produce the kind of results that you rightfully identified we were short of the last 2 years. So with that, I'll close and see if there's any questions from anybody.
Questions? Here.
So, Chairman Garcia, I just a couple of things, and one of them I did recently learn that is not part of this MOA would be the use of the golf course for the 4th of July fireworks. So I'm trying to find a way so that hopefully we can get, another event at least.
Yeah, well, here's the dilemma, Counselor. Every time we add or change the MOA, we cannot access the funds. If we add another addition this time, we're going to solve the problem. But if we add another addition, it'll be another month before we could access the funds. And that means we won't be able to operate in April. And it's looking that we lose a full month of play, which is revenue to us. Now, having said that, we have cooperated in the past, even when we didn't have an MOA, and allowed the city to use that for the fireworks. We just have to make sure that the safety precautions and protocols were in. But we have never denied, to my knowledge, the city or any local community request for use of the golf course for that purpose.
Okay,
So I would say this, we'll be happy, the management committee can agree to that kind of use. Aaron, do you have anything to add?
Councilman Martinez, Aaron Clary, AVP for Finance at Highlands. So I have discussed that with our provost and interim or acting president, excuse me. And we've looked at the history, and as Chairman Garcia had mentioned, that has been something that we have done with a letter. I believe the request was for the next 2 years, is that correct? And so we've been working on that. Unfortunately, schedules haven't aligned, and we're dealing with some things right now, but we intend to get that to you soon. And I can't guarantee that, right? I can't say that the president's intentions are, but that has been discussed, and I have not seen a decision against what we have done in the past.
Let me just say this, we would not want to jeopardize the goodwill that we're establishing with the city council, the principals, and the county by agreeing to do something and then not do it, so.
Yeah, and I don't know how many years the city has used the facility for that. But moving forward, I wouldn't want to see our community, city government, we receive a bill because we didn't agree on something to begin with. I don't want, I'm sure that has never happened. Am I correct?
Correct. To my knowledge, when I've looked up the letters of the past, it's just been a usage. It's an allowance for the city to use the premise.
I guess as long as we have, a commitment of some sort, basically like you mentioned, a letter or something that we can work with. I want to make sure that we're not having to pay for a facility that we're donating to. It wouldn't make any sense for us to do such a thing. No.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Councilor, we'll get a letter to the city affirming that, what you just said, that there will not be charges and that the city will be able to use it.
Okay. One other question I did have was the use of the facility. As of right now, what is the time frame as for putting things in motion? In other words, when is it open?
Yep.
When can students start to utilize the golf course?
We are estimating that we should be able to open it the 1st of May.
So does that put the two school districts here in Vegas at a deficit?
No, we allow them, we work with their coaches, they're actually coming on the course today and using it, they're just a whole dark draw. I mean, we have to maintain the course, but we're not denying either one of those coaches, because this is spring, and this is when their teams are playing. So we've accommodated them, in the past before we had an MOA. We will continue to accommodate them.
Hold on, Council. No, go ahead. Mr. Chairman, if I could add, I guess, after we did this MOE, we approved the previous one, right? And of course, language has to change, and I totally understand, any changes that we do, and that's why we're here today, right? Those changes that we're adding, we have to vote on them, any changes. But I guess the concern that, came after that discussion with you guys, and I totally get it, we know audits happen, and, anti-donation and all that, and I think, you guys have to deal with that, right? But I think what has kind of bothered me, and I think this is where Councilor Martinez was heading, when we inquired about the golf course for fireworks and also for Hillfield Auditorium for the pageant, it was like, here we're partnering, we're partnering with Highlands University, but then we're getting this back, we have to pay, I don't know, how much is it for Hillfield? 5,000, so all these fees. So, I mean, in these agreements is where all that, entity to entity can be resolved. So I guess there was a bit of frustration when that came to our attention, is that, hey, hold on here, we're being partners, but then, there's that charge, to us, and I hope that, moving forward.
Mr. Mayor, I completely agree with you. I think we are pretty good partners. I mean, there's a number of events that I know go on at Highlands in our facilities, and we make our facilities pretty much open. I'm not aware of the charge for ill-feel, but I do know that you're correct on the anti-donation. And there are rules and guidelines and so forth. But let me just say this, we're open to meeting with you informally and going over any of these. I'm not saying that they can be changed. There's always a reason. There's usually a good reason I found, but we're open to the dialogue and to the way partners should treat each other, and that's with transparency and openness and candor. You know, if we can do it, we will. If we can't, we'll tell you why, and you'll do the same. I mean, so that's the way the best partnerships are.
Yeah, and I think it's just working together, just, you know, the surprise of, where's the partnership? And we have, of course, our partnership. I mean, I think we're headed in the right direction. So I kind of, and again, I understand, you know, audits happen, you know, to us. You know, I know we made some changes. Organizations didn't like that either, right? But we were kind of saying, hey, hold on, we can't do that. It's violating, you know, putting us in jeopardy with our audits. So I totally get that, but I think it's important, and this is where my thing was, we have an MOU now we're trying, because we're providing some monetary, so that's, I totally get it, and I just hope to do that. I guess the important clause here within this contract is that termination of 30 days, right? So
Yes, I know,
so
and
I guess that's something.
we hear you, and you're in complete control, and, you know, we're both looking for the same outcome, the same goal, and that is, how do we provide a quality of life amenity to our community? And in my view, I think this is an economic development opportunity that will be able to satisfy the new age housing needs, if you will, smaller spaces, energy efficient. That's the way we can start attracting, I think, more young professionals, young families, older people, retirees to the community, and that will definitely help everybody.
Thank you. Councilors, now I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. City Manager, so were you involved in this MOA?
I apologize.
Were you involved in this MOA?
This, to the component of having, the students have access to the groups and having the financial reporting come in, that's where I was involved. This was also, utilized with the county, for their MOA. And so they came to me as a completed product. We did not have time to make adjustments because of the time it would take to get back through Highlands attorney and through their board, and then be presented to us.
Now, on this MOU, my understanding, well, the motion that Councilman Martinez made was to approve the funding in the amount of $60,000 for 1 year. And New Mexico Highlands University allowed both school districts to use the golf course at no charge. Council Casey second. That was it. Now we come up with this MOA, and that was for an MOU. This is for an MOA. And now we have a committee that involves you that we're paying for, that you're on our time clock. And you're supposed to be part of that committee, giving direction about housing or about the golf course and so forth. The other thing that I have is, I never remember agreeing, other than that motion that Councilman Martinez made, to the liability. Each party shall be solely responsible and liable for its own action and omissions, and all claims, damages, actions, costs, and actions, suits, losses, damages, liabilities, expenses. Why should we be in charge or liable for something that happens at the golf course?
I think the university, as the owner of the golf course and as the principal advancing the MOA for the two other partners, we're responsible for that.
But over here,
So if we allow dangerous conditions on the golf course and somebody gets attacked by a rabid dog, the university is the one that will be responsible. This is boilerplate legal information. It was in the last MOA that we had that was for 2 years. We have just added the city's new requirements, which we were happy to do.
I would stick with a 1 year, helping out for 1 year. Because November of 2025, next year, 4 of us will be done. And we can't, we really can't put our next administration in debt.
This gives you that option. We're to report to you in 1 year, and if you don't like the way it's being run, or you don't like the land development, you can say, we're not gonna fund it any further. So that's one of the changes that the county asked for, and we put that in, and it applies to you as well.
Yeah, and again, I stand with, Mayor Martinez that, you know, the golf course has been utilized for, Cortez de las Fiestas, and also for the auditorium for the Fiestas, also for the pageant. And, you know, we talk about, working relationship, I think that should happen. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Chairman. Councilor Casey, Councilman Uluwadi, any questions? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve this MOA for 1 year for 60,000.
A motion by Pro Tem Montoya, do I have a second? Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call.
Counselor Casey?
So the motion is to approve for 1 year, 60,000.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Ivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we thank you very much. We look forward to an ongoing, improving relationship over time, and we commit to that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our next item, number 6. Conduct a public hearing and approval of the transfer of ownership of dispenser liquor license number 0290, active sales only.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter into a public hearing.
Motion to enter public hearing for approval of transfer of ownership, dispensary liquor license number 0290, with liquor sales only.
Motion to enter into public hearing, by Pro Tem Montoya, do I have a second? Second by Councilman Uluwadi. Roll call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Ivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Ivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. And at this time, if, I can have anybody that's going to be speaking on this issue, please stand up. I think you'll be sworn in by Ms. Ernie Doyle. She will sign us all in as I need to be signed in, or sworn in, sorry. Hearing. If each of you can please state your name for the record, Ms. Ernie.
Please state your name for the record and raise your right hand.
Vince Howell.
Susanna. Cassandra.
Under the penalty of perjury, do you swear that your testimony is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I may go ahead and speak.
Yes.
Thank you. So we have the applicant, and I believe we have Ms. Is it Ms. Montgomery? Sorry. We have her speaking on behalf of the applicant, Teresa LLC. They are requesting the transfer of ownership of this dispensary liquor license. It's package sales only, and the liquor license is owned by Franken Oil Company, which is a Better Stock convenience store. And so they did apply, they went through the process through Alcohol Beverage Control Division. And they got preliminary approval, and now it's coming to the council for your consideration. The publication and zoning has been met. So we did publish it twice. It's called by the ABC. So I'll leave it to you. You might go ahead and.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. I believe that all is in order. I simply stand here together with my clients, prepared to answer any questions or concerns.
So Mr. Senator, I don't think we have any, besides, the ones that are requiring the change
Nobody else sworn in. Is to get, I don't know if they want to speak as well.
Yeah, just welcome, Mayor Vince Howell. Nice to see you. All right, any questions? No, we just return to regular session. Any questions, Councilor Casey? I'll entertain a motion to regular session. Close the public hearing and to regular session. Motion by Pro Tem Montoya, do I have a second? Second. Second by Councilman Ivadi, roll call.
Councilor Martinez,
Yes.
Councilor Ivedi,
Yes.
Councilor Montoya, Councilor Casey. I have a motion by Councilor Montoya, second by Councilor Ivedi. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
With that, no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, sure.
Pro Tem Montoya.
The only concern that I have is, Las Vegas owns, runs a little league field next door. And I would ask that you work with our staff on the drainage issues that we're having there. I know you're not aware of them, there are new businesses coming into town, new ownership. All the parking lot and all the roof drainage drains into the city baseball parks. And I ask that you work with the staff and seeing how we can come to that conclusion of fixing that problem. Thank you. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to conduct, not to conduct, but approve the transfer of ownership, special liquor license on the.
We have a motion by Pro Tem Montoya.
Mr. Mayor.
Let me get a second and we'll close the discussion.
Okay.
Motion, have a second. I have a motion right now to approve. Can I get a second? Second. Yes, so a second by Councilman Ivadi. Okay, discussion, Councilman Martinez.
Well, the only thing I wanted to ask for mention was, I know that, package liquors, there's time restraints as to when they can sell and all that. And I just wanted to read that more to light so that the public's aware of the hours of operation and so forth. I mean, the location closes down at a certain time, is that correct? And, I mean, I know it does, I shouldn't even ask that, but I just wanted to be formally, known to the public that, it's open from this point to this point, Monday through, 7 days a week, and what are the time frames? I know there's restrictions on, I guess, package liquors, selling past a certain point possibly, is that true? I don't know. Maybe you can just kind of verify that for me, I just wanted to bring a little bit of information to light.
Mayor, if you don't mind, just so the public can hear online, if you don't mind going to the podium. You guys can- This all gets there. I just want to make a comment, to the owners. Thank you for investing in the city of Las Vegas. We want to be as business friendly as we can. So thank you for making that effort, and whatever we can do to work together, let's do that. Welcome you first time as mayor, and it's totally fine.
Good evening, Mayor and councilors, and also Councilor Casey and virtual. It's good to be here. The question was the hours of operation and when we can sell liquor. Is that correct?
That is right, yes.
Yes. Currently, we close at 9 o'clock, 7 days a week, and usually during the summertime, we increase our hours to around 11 o'clock. That's the latest that we've stayed open for ever since I've been there, and that's been 12 years. And we've had package sales of liquor since then. And we have had no issues with that. We train our employees within our store on getting their service license. We have a ability, they sit down at our computers and they go to the training class of the service license. We use Way to Serve as an authorized website to get their license. And we have 17 employees at this current time, and of the 17, we have 4 employees that don't have service license. 2 of them are maintenance personnel, and one of them is a minor that doesn't sell liquor at all. And the 4th one is a cook, deli person, that doesn't work on the register. And we do have inspection periodically by the ATF. They come in and look at our records. We have consistent records that are in our store, and also we have the service license copies of in the stores ourselves. So.
Okay, that pretty much answers my question.
Thank you.
I do appreciate you, considering coming to Vegas as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate being here in our town, and I know that I've been with the Franken Companies for 12 years, and now I'm going to be even longer with Mr. Yusuf, who's our new owner at this point. And he's working diligently to improve our atmosphere in our store. He's going to brighten it up. He's going to make sure that we follow cleanliness procedures, and he's bringing a lot of new items into our business also, and which is right now currently perking interest of our public to come in. So we're really excited about the new changes here.
And again, thank you, Mr. Yusuf. I think the important part here is, smaller communities, as big chains come in, those matter, things like that. The smaller, gas stations are always sometimes affected, and I think it's important for you, can't thank you guys enough for be willing to keep those 17 employees and keep our community working, and really just not getting shut down. So keep all the employees. Thank you guys so much.
And we don't throw stones at glass houses, so we take care of our own selves and make sure we do the right thing. And that way we'll be consistent in the operations to our community.
No comments, second.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Casey? Can you hear us, Counselor Casey? I call for the approval of the transfer of ownership. We had a by Counselor Montoya and a second by Counselor. Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Divari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Divari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, moving on to our next item, request approval of an encroachment agreement with Bill and Kathy. We have our Community Development Director, Mr. Lucas Marcus.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. City Manager, and Mrs. Sandra. Approaching us today is we could get approval for encroachment for Mr. Bill Hendrickson, owner of 825 7th Street. That's an existing encroachment, but due to a sale of the property, he needs to go ahead and re-up or renew this encroachment agreement. Nothing has changed on the original, from the original, enforcement agreement. Still the same, encroachments, 1.72 feet on towards the alley. Trash trucks to get through, fire trucks to get in there. There's nothing that has changed. It's been in this condition since, I want to say, the early 1900s. Same house, same thing, so, that's all I'm asking tonight. Just for review.
Mr. Marcus, you said a renewal?
Yeah, that's an encroachment that's already been there for, since, like I said, the early 1900s. What he has to do, in order to sell the property, is renew the encroachment, so the new buyer can know that there is an encroachment there. So he went ahead and applied for it, went through planning and zoning, and they did go ahead and recommend approval of this encroachment.
Was this done by?
Yes, there was.
Questions? Motion by Councilor Casey, second. Second by Councilman Martinez, roll call.
Councilor Montoya?
Yes.
Councilor Olivetti?
Yes.
Councilor Casey? Councilor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey, a second by Councilor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Our next item is item number 8, request approval of resolution number 24-11, the sale of obsolete city assets at an online auction. We have our area finance director, Mr. Donald Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, City Manager. Yes, I'm here to request approval of resolution 2411, the sale of obsolete items on online auctions. We have this here.
So I'll entertain a motion. Any questions? I have a motion to approve by Councilor Casey. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Montoya. Any discussion?
Mr. City Manager, can you explain, can you give us an update on that trailer solid waste that we purchased prior to our administration, during our administration, that's been sitting there, and we had no use for that would be exchanged or put on the auction block? What's the status of that?
Thank you.
Sorry. So with that trailer that was bought, it's an end-of trailer. It's only able, it can only be used with the specific semi that we have. That semi had a blown head gasket, so it was no longer able to be used because it has a leveling kit on it. So that end-up is pretty much rendered useless to the city of Las Vegas right now. What we did try to do was trade it in to FCT. They had agreed to take it back, but due to procurement issues, we could not do it that way. So we were stopped at that avenue. The next avenue that we should take would be to go ahead and put it up for auction with the reserve amount on it. I believe we paid close to 50,000 on it, 58 or 56 around there, where it was brand new. Maybe 3 to 4 months of use on the piece of equipment.
So what are you going to do with it?
I would recommend auctioning it and getting putting a reserve amount on it, so we can make some money out of it.
So we can include it in this auction?
They got the paperwork together. They could. I'm not sure if they did or didn't.
No, sir, that trailer was not added to this auction. Why not? If we haven't approved anything. Well, that depends on the city. No, so we can include it if we want to approve this. Sure. Okay. With the. Yeah, because you know what, we've had already 4 auctions, 3, 4 auctions, and that trailer's been sitting there and we have no use for it. It's just money being wasted, and something needs to be put on it. How much money we get from it, but it don't make no sense to just have it sitting there and we could use another new trailer for all the trash.
And if I may as well, so, we need to make sure what the funding source was, if there's any stipulations if it came from a grant per se.
Almost definitely. However, is this something that we can do, Mr. Sandra, while adding it to this, with the approval?
I'm not sure if you have any deadlines that has to be
No.
done online auction?
No.
There's not anything like that, it's
No.
not specifically included in the resolution.
Yes, I can definitely, if it's, we get a motion to include this trailer to bring the option.
But if I can, right now, or motion or second, I guess the whole thing would just be, city manager, do you work with any additional items that can be added? To sell, I guess just additionally reviewing, whatever it is.
The amendment to the motion.
We just have a first and a second. But really, I don't think that we should be saying what exactly is the limit. I think that would be up to the city manager. So just whatever he decides that would be his. So first and a second, and get a full call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Iguain?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Next item, request approval of amendment 4 to lease agreement between the city of Las Vegas and the New Mexico Department of Veteran Services. We have our city manager, Mr. McClellan.
So Mayor and Council, after being appointed to the city manager role, I learned that there was a rental agreement between the city and the New Mexico Department of Veteran Services that expired back in November. I did reach out to the Department of Veteran Services to get this lease underway, so they were back under contract. This process, to be honest, I hadn't gone through it before, and so I reached out to our attorney, Mr. Castellano, and we realized that this contract, because this is another state entity, that we needed to work with General Services Division to have the agreement authorized by their attorneys as well. So over the last couple of months, we have taken the original lease language and put that contract together. We did, however, I did know that there was a note on the old lease agreement that the lease amount would go up by $1,000 annually, that had been agreed to with Veteran Services prior to my coming on board. So with their fiscal year being different than ours, theirs is October through September. They did not have it built into the budget for their current fiscal year. And so if you notice on the amendment to this lease, the term dates of December 1st of 2023 through November 30th of 2024, the annual total rent is $4,200. And we would have a $1,000 increase to $5,200 starting December 1st of 2024. This lease agreement would run through November 30th of 2028. In the language, we also put that we would be able to do a review at the end of these terms if there are any additional increases that need to be put in place, and then that would take place on December 1st of 2028. Mr. Castellano, is there anything else you'd like to add on this one?
I don't believe so.
And so we're seeking approval to go ahead and adopt this lease. We would present it then to General Services Division for their agreement, and then we would go under, they'd be renting our building under a lease.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the lease.
I move that we approve this amendment and report to this agreement between the city of Las Vegas and the municipal Department of Veteran Services. And thank you for your work, Mr.
I have a motion, Councilor Casey, to approve amendment number 4, a lease agreement between the city and the Department of Veteran Services. So a second. Second. Councilor Martinez with the second. Sorry, Councilor Casey, he beat you to it.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Iguain?
Yes.
Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, request approval of a contract between the City of Las Vegas and Arch Consulting LLC. Mr. Montgomery.
Thanks. So this item is requesting approval of the contract between the City of Las Vegas and Arch Consulting LLC. Just a little bit of history again. RFP number 2014-13 was awarded to Arch Consulting at the March 13, 2024 council session. This is bringing forward a contract to actually authorize payment to Arch Consulting Services. I had brought up a little bit earlier that we're really monitoring our grants to ensure that we don't have funds revert back to the granting agents. This is something that Arch Consulting has done for us historically, and we're able to step in again and pick up that function immediately. This grant does not specify a total budget. It is only on calling out funding amount of $90 per hour of services. The scope of the RFP was to cover the grant monitoring application as well as administrative time to actually discuss our grants. So that RFP had been approved. Arch Consulting came forward with applying for the RFP, and we approved that. Now, again, this contract is for the payment for the fiscal year of 2024 ending June 30th. We currently have about $12,500 to utilize for these services. Going into the new fiscal year, we would need to agree on that next budgeted amount. But again, it would be at a rate of $90 per hour.
With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Martinez, have a second.
So moved.
Second by Councilor Pro Tem Montoya. I think where Councilor Case, I think when you come in, it comes in a bit delayed. So, roll call please.
Councilor.
Yes.
Councilor Martinez.
Yes.
Councilor Casey. Councilor Montoya.
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Martinez, a second by Councilor Montoya. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 11, discussion and request approval for additional funding in the amount of $440,131.77 for an additional 1.5 inches of asphalt on the Egan Drive project. We have our public works director, Mr. Arnold.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. So I'm coming today for requesting additional funding for the Legion project. So currently, we had awarded, and backtrack a little bit further. When we went out for bid, we did 2 alternates on it. One was for 3.5 inches of asphalt, and alternate 1, and then bid alternate number 2 was a total of about 5 inches. So when we received the bids from the contractors, and Desert Fox was the low bid on the entire project, funding would only allow to place a 3.5 inch application of asphalt throughout the project. Okay. Now that we've been in construction and have really noticed how much traffic and heavy traffic for that matter goes through that road, we feel that the 3.5 inches isn't going to be sufficient to withstand that heavy traffic. Currently, the road is listed as has a weight limit on that road, but they don't obey it. Okay, there's a lot of heavy traffic going through it. And also during the fire, we had a lot of heavy traffic utilizing it as well. So we're asking for additional funding to be able to place a total of 5 inches on it. So the additional amount would cover the 1.5 inches to bring it up to a 5 inch mat. And it's additional cost because to place a 5 inch mat, you got to do it in 2 applications. A 3.5 inch mat can be placed in 1 application, but when you're talking 5 inches for compaction or required compaction, you would have to do it in 2 lifts. So then the contractor has a lot more labor attached to it as well, plus material. But it'll add a lot of structural value to that, and it'll prolong the life of that street, you know, for quite a few years. I feel personally, if we don't do the 5 inches, it's not gonna last, of course, as long. It's not gonna sustain that heavy traffic.
So, Mr. Arnold, so with the way it was designed, that alternator, 3.5 inches, you know, the main intent of this whole project was because of the issue at the hospital, right, the way the road, you know, I don't know if it didn't have enough at the time or what it was.
Yes, sir.
This is adding additional than what's there now, or maybe?
I'm not sure what's there now. We won't know that until we mill it out. But the failure occurred due to lack of compaction. Contractor that did it back then wasn't held accountable for compaction, and that's where the failure occurred. It started early on, and it just kind of worsened throughout the years, and it reached a certain point, and then it hasn't really settled anymore. Because, you know, it achieved its settling and compaction. Had it have been compacted right, probably wouldn't be in that condition it is today, other than the surface deterioration, but you wouldn't have that failure that occurred on that particular stretch.
And the other question or comment I have here is, I know Legion Drive is one of the roads that we put in the beginning for, you know, to seek funding from them. I know there's, you know, some concern from Ms. Clarity as to, you know, records and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, this is something that we can be refunded or reimbursed, but of course, there's always that chance that no. You know, at the end, I think what we have to do is look at, we're gonna do something, do it right, and end up in the same situation that we're in. And the price tag was really, I guess, one other question that I have, Mr. City Manager, is the funding for it.
So Mayor, there's a few different avenues that we've researched on this project, and just taking into consideration the increased thickness of the road is really an investment in the city and that road itself, or how long it would last and the weight load it can take. As far as the funding itself, there's very limited funds that come from like a FEMA claim for this road, so it will become a self-invested project. We as a city could adopt or take on this investment, but the one thing I think would be really important is that the Finance Advisory Committee and the Finance Office look at our investments themselves, take advantage of the government investment pool while there are high percentage rates, and truly have these funds reimbursed from interest that's earned. In order to spend the monies, we'll need to do a budget adjustment request and take it out of our general funds. Or out of our bank account. It'll increase our budget, and then if we do an investment of monies, earn those interest, reimburse ourselves, we can make that money up.
Exactly what Mr. City Manager mentioned, and I've already looked into it, and we have 75 of that portion within the streets department, so we can use that, and then we will take the other 25% from general fund. And I've already prepared a bar for next week. Yeah, no, I just want to thank staff. I know that's my ward. You know, since the beginning, we didn't have enough funding, but now's the time to act on this because contractors are in the middle of this, and it's time-consuming effort on behalf of the city to try and do this right away. Because they're at the level where they're picking up the asphalt and continue to go another inch and a half. Now's the time. So we won't delay any more than we have to do with. But it's like Mr. Lopez says, this project, I think you won't be seeing potholes in 15 years. You will be seeing potholes probably 25 to 30 years. Because of the amount of asphalt that's going to be put on there. I know we spend a lot of money on pothole patching every year. This last year we increased that budget by 100,000, and and this coming year, we might have to look at increasing, I don't know what his balance is at partial patching. But we might have to increase that again, because our streets are still in dire need of proper patching. But this, you won't, I think that in the future, we won't have to worry about, actually Mountain View and Legion Drive as far as pothole patching, because, those streets are pretty much, done to handle the traffic now. We have this 5 inches too. Again, I asked for that support, and we have the funding there available. I think it's fair to do it right away. And, other projects, they're coming our way also. I mean, we're gonna have to look at that budget and see if we can appropriate some of that funding for those projects, because we've already been told, that there's limited funding this year from the Western DOT. So we might have to be doing the same thing we did now we do it to other projects. We're gonna have to work out a plan and see if we can use our investments or interest rates to offset those kind of projects. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, Councilman Martinez.
Mayor, yes. I know that we haven't really talked about this. We did speak a little bit about this, Mr. Lucas, in reference to the 1.5-inch overlay, making sure that that's 5 inches of asphalt. I think that's a real good direction, definitely. The only question I do have is services in those areas, like right across from those main schools in that general area. Do we have infrastructure in place there if ever we needed to, if the city ever decides to allow, building to take place at those locations across the street in those vacant areas? The reason why I'm asking that is because every time it seems like we do a real nice free road in the past, here we go again and we cut the street up, and that's why I'm asking about infrastructure. If there's infrastructure in place, or is that something that might need to be we need to be going down the road? I'm not sure. Maybe you can answer some of that. I know you're not utilities, and I understand that, but maybe somebody can answer that.
And you're right, I wouldn't be able to answer as far as infrastructure in regards to utilities, but I know what occurs a lot of times, water leaks, okay, unforeseen water leaks. A lot of times those are the issues, and that's why streets get cut off and impacted, or possibly a sewer service, to a resident. All of a sudden they have issues with it and they have to repair it or replace it. And they end up having to cut our streets, and how do you prevent that? I don't have the answer for that, but I know in that area, we reach out to utilities anytime we're gonna do a new construction or an improvement. And the first thing we ask, we reach out to all the departments, gas, water, and sewer as well, to see if they need to do any upgrades or any work before we actually do the improvement and pavement and stuff like that. So we're in communication with them first off. Immediately, pre-project, before design, and then we get input from them, and if something's needed, then the same way with that project, we did reach out to them and nothing was needed.
And again, I know you're trying to answer the question. I'm not trying to get after you on anything. Is there already services in that general area that we have that vacant land? I'm not sure. I guess that's what I'm trying to ask. Is there services?
Yeah, I don't know, typically, a lot of
I know
times
they can't be everything, but I can understand, maybe water lines do need to be added at one point. I don't know where the water goes on that side of the street or the other side. That's what I'm kind of asking, is try to see.
Yes.
Maybe I can answer that for you guys now. There are gas, water, and sewer lines that do go to there. The water will be on the south side, the gas will be on the south side, water will be on the north side, and sewer will be right in the middle. And those do go down and they do feed the hospital.
Okay.
And those have been upgraded for the gas light is polyethylene. The water is at HDEP pipe as well as the wastewater.
Okay, I just want to make
And
sure.
if there's ever growth in that area, we do have the lines and distribution and everything for the population to grow there.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Councilor Casey or Councilman Olivari, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Dr. Montoya.
Move to approve, public works recommendation, additional funding in the amount of $140,139.77 from 1.5 inch of asphalt, Easy Drive project, for thickness of 5 inches.
I have a motion by Dr. Montoya to approve the additional funding for Legion Drive. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Roll call, please.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Martinez. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
Mayor and council, thank you. It'll be money well spent.
Mayor, next on the agenda is executive session.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session for limited personnel matters according to NMSA section 10-15-1 for specific discussion on the appointing of finance director. I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilman, by Pro Tem Montoya, second. Second by Councilman Olivari. Roll call.
Counselor Martinez?
Yes.
Counselor Casey? Counselor Montoya?
Yes.
Counselor Olivari?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Montoya, second by Counselor Olivari. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Motion carries.
So how will we shut this stuff down?
The only thing we need to set up is the non-chief and,
So Council Casey will still stay on.
it would be better to call it.
Councilor Casey. Councilor Casey. So I'll go ahead and give you a call for the executive session. Yeah, just because it's, pretty loud on the, I don't know if you're outside, so just to be sure. All right. Okay, thank you.